The most stable memory block will now be loaded.
What if I told you that one man's death changed the entire course of Assassin's Creed history? A father, a master assassin, a former pirate, Edward Kennway. In Assassin's Creed lore, Edward was murdered in his own home by a mercenary working under Reginald Bridge, the man who would later raise Edward's son, Haytham Kennway, and turn him into a Templar. But what if that never happened? What if Edward Kennway survived? Would Haytham still become a Templar? Would Connor's life be different? And perhaps the biggest question of all, would grandfather and grandson ever meet? Today we're entering the Animus and exploring one of the biggest what if in Assassin's Creed history. For this, we needed to go back to the AC novel Forsaken. December 1735. Several men break into Edward Kennway's estate in London. In the original timeline, Edward is overwhelmed and killed. His son Haytham is only 10 years old, and from that moment on, everything falls apart. Haytham is taken under the wing of Reginald Bridge. Bridge lies to him, manipulates him, raises him, and eventually turns him into one of the most influential Templars in history. But in our timeline changes here. This time, Edward survives. Edward has spent years as a pirate, assassin, and a fighter. This was a man who battled privateers, soldiers, Templars, and legendary assassins. So let's say Edward defeats the attackers. Maybe he's wounded, maybe several guards die, but he lives. And because he survives, he immediately discovers something horrifying. The attack wasn't random. Someone wanted him dead. Someone close to him betrayed him. Reginald Bridge. This changes everything. Without Edward's death, Bridge never becomes Haytham's father figure. He never feeds him lies about the assassin. He never recruits him into the Templar Order. Instead, Haytham grows up under the guidance of his actual father, a master assassin. One who has once chased wealth and glory, but learned the value of family and purpose. Would Haytham become an assassin? Honestly, probably. Edward would train him, teach him eagle vision, tell him stories about Mary Read, Adewale, and the Brotherhood. The boy who became a Templar Grand Master might instead become one of the greatest assassins in history. But where would his story lead him? Years later, Haytham travels to the colonies, but now he's an assassin. Would he still have met Zio, Connor's mother? Possibly. Would Connor still be born? There's a good chance. But Connor's childhood could be completely different. In the original timeline, Connor grew up never truly knowing his father. In this timeline, he may actually know him. Imagine Connor being raised by both his mother and his father. Imagine learning assassin skills from childhood. Imagine growing up with a living family instead of a tragedy. But now we raise the question that everyone wants answered. Would Edward Kennway meet Connor? I think yes, and honestly, it would have been incredible. Edward would be older, he has gray hair, his pirate days are long behind him, but imagine this scene. A young Connor stands before him. Edward studies the boy's face, then he smiles because he's looking at his grandson, a child carrying the blood of assassins and pirates. Edward never got to see Haytham become a man. He never got to know Connor, but in this timeline, he gets both. The truth is, Edward Kennway's death wasn't just another tragedy. It was the event that pushed Haytham towards the Templars. It was one of the reasons Connor grew up without a father, and it changed the entire future of the Assassin Brotherhood. But if Edward survives, Haytham may become an assassin, Connor may grow up with his family, and the Kennway bloodline may become the most powerful assassin family in history. All because one man lived. One father, one pirate, one assassin, Edward Kennway.
You have successfully completed the tutorial.